as we move through all of the ideas, part of that Bronfman-Brenner model that we mentioned earlier, friendship is the next one that we're going to kind of focus on. And friendships are really a huge element in our essential well-being as far as the importance of connection with other people. So we're going to look at the nature of friendship based on how it's defined, the functions, and then how it exists across the lifespan. So first element to look at is that friendship is voluntary. We have an opportunity to choose our friends where we don't have an opportunity to choose our workmates. We don't have an opportunity to choose our friends. And we don't have as much flexibility in choosing our partners, oftentimes because there's expectations placed upon us for what our partners are supposed to look like, whether they have to be within a certain age range or they need to be a certain ethnicity. So there are kind of a lot more rules around romantic partners than there are around friendships. So we have an opportunity to choose people that maybe are a very different age group from us and create friendships in those kinds of situations. So we really have our friends are our choice. Our family is not a choice, and our friends are a choice. So we also look at the reason why we end up getting together relates back to this idea of shared interest and our connection with somebody else because we have something in common. I think a lot of times I've met a lot of my friends because of circumstances or situations where we were put in the same location. I think my best friends, the people that I'm closest to as far as my friendships go, I met them both working in the restaurant business. Actually, one I met in high school, who later worked with me in the restaurant business, and the other one I met in the restaurant business. So really, in our case, it was workplace friendships that developed, and then we just started spending time outside of that. So ours was really more of a workplace kind of shared interest, but we're being placed together based on something that we hold in common. And I mean, this kind of thing can kind of shift. So as you move in and out of your interests in life, sometimes you might find that your friendships and relationships will also shift. Another element that characterizes friendship is our ability or willingness to self-disclose and give information about who we are. It's a difference between just having someone that's an acquaintance where I know them and somebody that's a friend where I'm going to give them more of my private information. I can tell you, my bestie, she gets to find out more about me than probably she wanted to know. Because I actually feel freer to just express who I am, even if it's kind of like not the pretty side of me. I feel a little bit more comfortable with expressing who I am there because I feel like it's okay, and I'm really okay if she doesn't do everything perfect and she doesn't show me the pretty side of herself either. I think that's kind of an important component when you're looking at how people relate to each other. Friendship is rooted in liking, so you feel a sense of affection or kindness or respect towards people, and it's kind of how we show that we like them. We become emotionally attached to our friends, and we're not really as emotionally demanding of them, hopefully, because this is a voluntary connection with somebody for the most part. So hopefully you have that level of respect. And as we mentioned before, if someone else likes you, you're more likely to like them. It's just the nature of how people relate to each other. And friendships are volatile, meaning that they change, they're not stable. So as life happens, you have a tendency to break off and become, you have a tendency to break off and maybe reconnect with somebody else. I have reconnected with friends in the past. So I have had friendships that were very strong when I was younger, and then I reconnected with them. I can say for the most part, for those of you who are just getting out of high school, I know that there are friendships that you have and you're going to be friends forever. But I can say for the most part, there's some of the friends I was close to in high school that I don't have any relationship with going forward. So some of the ones that were primary to me, I did keep, and they did stay friends with me. But for the most part, those people drifted away. And outside of occasionally seeing them at reunions, and some of them I don't see at reunions because they weren't the kind to actually attend, I lost connection with them. So hopefully, if they are important to you, you do what needs to happen in order to maintain your connection with your friends. So a couple of the functions of friends is the first one is communal, and the second one is agentic. So with communal friendships, this is really someone that you share your life events with. These are people that maybe revolve around leisure activities, like talking and eating, getting together, just encouraging emotional support. These are more the communal friends. The agentic friends are often like more work-oriented people. Maybe they're someone that you work with to help achieve practical goals, maybe something that you have in common. So they mentioned that you might fix cars, or maybe you study for exams, maybe it's your study buddy. So things like that, where you have friendships that have a little bit more of a practical leaning. So that leads us into friendships that happen through time. And these are changes that happen throughout our lives. So we mentioned before that sometimes people move in and out of your life depending on your interest and your focus, what you're kind of interested in. And that, as we look at friends as well, the importance of friends kind of shift and change depending on what stage of life you're in. When you're young and you're a child and you are in relationship with your family, for the most part, they're your primary people that you kind of rely on when you need emotional support. When you go into adolescence, you have a tendency to transfer more of that attachment to your friends. Then you get a little older and you have a tendency to really rely on friends as your primary relationships. And then maybe when you get married and you start having romantic relationships and families, then you maybe have a little less connection to friendships and have more connection to your relationships. I think, this all really depends on you again and what is going on in your life. But yeah, you might notice that, again, those things just sort of change through time. The textbook also mentions culture and gender, and the big thing that they mention in here is there really isn't like a whole lot of difference necessarily across the gender per se. There are some differences as far as how people handle things culturally, where we see friendships as being more transient, like they happen for a period of time and then they might move on, where in other cultures they might see friendships as being longer lasting and going on over a longer period of time. But I think for the gender part, I don't know that there's really as much difference between the gender elements overall. And the other thing, the reason technology is kind of mentioned is they're talking a little bit about how we might have social network friendships where people might follow somebody on social media, but they're not necessarily friends. They're just more acquaintances or connections that you have online. So just as another distinction or another way to look at those elements. All right, thank you.